Hey everyone, welcome to Tantra Tuesday. If we haven't met before, I'm Heidi, and each week I bring an answer to one of your questions about Tantra. I'm a Tantra coach and I work with clients to get empowered in every area of your life, from your personal. I'm feeling a little fired up today, so today I decided and how anger differs under the yogic and the tantric traditions, how we deal with anger. If you feel like you're a person who doesn't get angry, then please watch this because we need to. And this is coming from a recovered, I don't get angry person. So I'm going to share with you how if you don't feel like you get angry, you've probably got more anger than anybody else. It's just wired itself differently. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the talk, as well as what to do if you've got a lot of anger or if you feel like you're starting to get your anger under control. I recently had a talk with someone who's really deep into the yogic practice, the classical yogic tradition. And they were telling me how their yoga practice is really helping them keep their anger under control. But as I talked to this person, I noticed that they had these little bits of anger seeping out in really passive aggressive ways through their being. And it really got me thinking this is something that happens whenever we try to put something under wraps or get it under control. It's so easy to repress. And what happens when we repress is we just move something from our conscious mind down into our subconscious mind, where it tends to kind of condense and concretize, and it starts to wire together with other things. And it has this habit of eventually needing to rise up, and usually at the most inopportune moments. So I'm not a fan of ever getting our anger under control, if that means suppressing. And I'm just going to give you a moment to feel into your experience of anger right now. If you can, if you're not driving, go ahead and close your eyes for a moment and see if you can connect with your anger. You might feel a numbness, just a complete lack of anger. You might not be able to come into contact with anger. Or you might remember a time that you felt angry and you decided, I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to feel anger. And I challenge you the next time this happens to get really interested on how it feels when you decide not to get angry. Does it feel like there's a subtle pushing away or a subtle pushing down or a subtle covering up with something else? If that's so, this is more of a suppression or a repression than a really dealing with our anger. I remember being in, it was I think my second Vipassana meditation retreat. And if you haven't done a Vipassana, I highly recommend them. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with them because I don't always agree with the philosophy, with the Goenka philosophy that you'll learn in these meditations. However, I really think the positives outweigh the negatives because it's such an incredible space for self-exploration, to be able to look over your emotions and your habit patterns with a fine-tooth comb. It's such a beautiful opportunity. And it's 10 days of meditating without talking, without any contact. So you really go in, and anything that's kind of stuck down there tends to rise to the surface. But the last time I did a Vipassana meditation, all of my alarm bells started going off because I was interpreting what was being spoken in the class as an instruction to suppress our anger. They kept saying, you don't want to have this defilement of the mind of having an angry thought, because an angry thought leads to an angry word, and an angry word leads to an angry deed. And before you know it, you've gone out and you've hurt someone. So when you no. This is where we end up punching a wall in an intense moment because we don't know how to deal with our anger. This is where we become passive aggressive and annoy everyone around us and stop communicating clearly because we don't know how to be with the intensity of this energy. From the tantric perspective, every energy is divine. And I recently found an astrologer that I feel connects to this really well. I really appreciate this guy. His name is Ricky Williams. And he was talking about how the question is never, is it good or bad? The question is, how and where does it fit in? How and where does it fit into this divine order that includes every aspect, every emotion? And it reminded me so much of the tantric tapestry, the tapestry that contains all the threads of the experiences of your life, all your relational moments, all the times when you felt joy because you were in a new relationship or you got a new car or a promotion, all the times that you felt disappointed because you lost a relationship or something didn't go your way. Each of those is like a thread in the tantric tapestry. And you can visualize them all with their own color. Sometimes the things that we want, the quote good things, come in these really beautiful golds or blues or greens. And then the feeling of being rejected or failing at something might be like kind of a snot green color or a gross, yucky brown color. And the temptation for us is to want to get rid of those ugly threads, to metaphorically take a pair of scissors and just start cutting out those aspects of the tapestry. And the thing is, if we could do that, if we were given the power to do that, we would make a royal mess of things. Because imagine that same tapestry that right up close looked so awful with those brown threads zoomed in. If you took that same tapestry and zoomed out so you could see all of it together at once, you would see that those brown threads are part of the design. They're part of the whole of the tapestry, and without it, the integrity of it, of the whole tapestry, would be lost. The pattern would have this gaping hole, and so would your life, and so would your spirit. And so part of what all this stuff that we talk about in Tantra is to help us to form relationships with each and every thread in that tapestry. And that's why I loved what this astrologer was saying, how everything has this divine order, and all of the planets and all of the different signs are associated with a universal energy. So you could say they're all one of the threads in the tapestry. And our job is not to say, oh, this is good or this is bad. Oh no, I'm feeling angry. I don't want to feel this anymore. How do I get rid of it? No. The question is, how does this anger fit in this moment? Maybe the anger is the energy of Durga, the energy of protection, of warrior, fire. Maybe the energy is a Kali energy, another tantric goddess, the energy of revolution. Anytime you're feeling anger, you need that energy for something. And it's coming to you like a glass of water in a thirsty desert. And if we push it away, we are failing to drink that water. We are failing to get the benefit and the gift from this energy. Tantra and yoga. What's the difference between how we treat anger in these two traditions? They're very broad traditions, but in general, you could say that yoga is a more transcendental path. It's looking to move up the chakras, to transcend our emotions, to transcend our body. It's kind of like a process of the divine feminine, or Shakti, dissolving back into Shiva, back into pure consciousness at the very last chakra in our system. In Tantra, It's a path of embodiment, of immanence, of what's here right now, of manifestation of the divine potential. So in Tantra, we are not trying to rise above the emotions. All we're trying to do is bring consciousness, or Shiva, into our emotions, into our mind, into our body. And we use all of the energies for something. It's a very pragmatic path. So whatever energy comes, we ask ourselves, how and where am I going to use this energy? How and where? So it's a very, very beneficial thing to feel anger. It's not so ideal, really, to never feel anger. In fact, what I have read and what really resonates with me and what I see myself moving closer towards is a situation where you feel anger really easily and you process it, you feel it, you let it run, you direct it in some way, and then just like that, it's gone. And you're clear as glass, and you're neutral, and you're like a blank canvas. And 5 minutes ago, you could have been like a raging volcano, but now you're like a placid lake. This is the natural flow of anger. When something happens, to ignite that flame, feel it and be with it. And then it will pass through so fast if it doesn't get stuck or pushed down. And then later, when you're in a trigger moment, you won't feel triggered because you've already dealt with that energy. You've already let it play out and run its circuit. It's kind of like how a child is. You know, they feel their emotions fully and then they're kind of over it. And they're laughing and jumping around and hugging 5 minutes after they were angry. So this is kind of where we want to get to. There's a lot of steps in between now and our ideal, because for most of us, we were not really trained how to handle our anger. Usually we express it and we do it in really destructive ways. So we become so afraid of it that we're just not willing to let it arise in any form. Or we just suppress it. So I used to be a suppressor. And I actually thought I was, so evolved that I didn't feel anger. How embarrassing. I was not. No. I had the pleasure of being in a relationship with someone who was very in touch with their energy of anger, who was like this erupting volcano. And thank God I was, because he was able to ignite some of this repressed anger in me. And I had a few experiences of really feeling that energy just pour through me torrentially and learning what to do with that. Because this is not a question of letting anger take you over and hurt people with it. That is not at all what I'm saying. So please understand me. I'm saying we need to learn how to use it in positive ways. So there's kind of 3 different paths of anger. There's repress, there's erupt destructively, and there's alchemical tantric mastery. That's what we want. That's what I want. Alchemy, and specifically anger alchemy. The techniques themselves are a little more intricate, so I save those for when I can actually be with you and guide you in a coaching session. But I will share with you the 2 prerequisites, just to get your mind thinking about possibly a new way of relating with anger. The first one is we have to be able to unravel the anger from its object, to pull it apart from the situation or the person that caused it. So this is the first step with any energy transmutation. And I'll give you an example. So if somebody is triggering you and pushing all of your buttons, and they're sitting across from you in the room, it's so easy to attach all of your anger to that person. And that's where domestic violence happens, where we've projected our anger onto someone. We think they are the reason for our anger, when really they're just acting as a catalyst for that aspect of you, that archetypal energy of you, to be awakened. And it takes a certain kind of consciousness to be able to slowly tease apart the emotion or the energy from its catalyst. So we are disengaging the energy from its object. And to be able to see, oh, I'm feeling anger. I'm just feeling anger. It's not, this person has made me angry. This situation has made me angry. Oh no, you were angry far before that person, far before that situation. They just played the divine part of awakening it in you, of pointing the finger into that place in you and saying, hey, look, you got anger. So in a weird, twisted way, it's kind of a service. So this is the key of any transmutation, and lots of tantric practices are designed to help us to untangle the energy from the object. Great example of this is your sex energy. Somebody looks really hot that day, maybe they start kissing you, and you say, you turn me on. Well, not really. You have sex energy in you, and you can have that experience of turn on with or without that person, but they provided the catalyst. We run into trouble when we project our sexuality onto another person. Oh, you turn me on, now we have to keep going, now you have to satisfy me. Or I'm not feeling sexual because I haven't dated or had an encounter for so long. This is all a case of entwining the energy with the object. That energy is in you, and you can learn how to access it and enjoy it without an external object. So that's the first step that we need to start to practice and start to be aware of before we can do the tantric practices around anger. The second one is we have to make friends with it. We have to make friends with our anger. And I always picture a table setting out with place settings for all of your good friends, and really lovingly setting a place out for anger. It's so rare that we welcome anger. It's so common that we decide, oh, I shouldn't be angry, or try to pretend or distract ourselves. But what if we just embraced it and said, oh, I'm feeling anger? And imagine pulling out that chair and welcoming it to the table. We have to do this before we can work with it. Because if you want somebody to be on your team, you have to let them in the meeting room. You have to let them have a seat around the table. If we keep shutting the door on anger, it's never going to be on our team, and we're never going to be able to access this immense resource for passion, for aliveness, for connecting to your warrior energy, for being able to channel it into a project that you really care about, for being able to inspire change in the world. All of these things need connection to anger. We become so potent when we connect to this anger. I just feel so on fire today. I just feel so connected to this anger right in the Manipura chakra. It actually feels really, really good when you don't have to be afraid of it, when you can open your arms and welcome it. It feels so good and so alive. There's so many specific practices where we can build on these two principles, these principles of untangling the energy from its object and of making friends with it. If you want to work with the actual techniques, you can contact me at Shamaya Tantra. You can leave me a message here. You can email me at info@shamayatantra.com. I think my contact details are up on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. And until then, if you're just working with yourself, just start to entertain the idea that you could be friends with anger, that it could have a purpose, that there might just be a divine order where all the threads in the tapestry have a purpose. And until then, I hope that that opens up a little bit of space, a little bit more of feeling like you are enough or you are capable, because that's what this energy does. Slowly, we start to become less afraid of our anger and more endeared to it. And I know that might sound crazy, but that's been my journey. And that's the journey that all the techniques and all the tools of Tantra are really leading us towards. So thank you for being here. I'm just going to check in for comments on Instagram, on Facebook. All right. So if you have a question for Tantra Tuesday, please submit it as early as you can. And each week I select one to create a little mini lecture, little micro workshop on. You can put that in the comments or DM me. I'm wishing you a beautiful night. I am accepting a couple more clients into the King of Hearts program right now. This is a program specifically for men, gaining mastery over your emotions, your sexuality, and your work and relationships. So if this is of interest, you can DM me or check out the website, Shamaya Tantra, and we'll see if this is the right time in your life. All right. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. 6:30 Mountain Time. Bye-bye. Bye.